In this video, I want to teach you a skill that will immensely enrich your playing on the drums, maybe even take it to a whole new level. For me, it was definitely like that. The key word is dynamics. I often have students who come to me to do a kind of checkup. I go through a few important basic skills on the drums with them, and I look where they stand and of course give them concrete exercises to improve any weaknesses. One thing I do is that I say, please play single strokes at a comfortable tempo, from very quiet to very loud and back. And what happens then usually looks and sounds like this. But what I would like to see and hear is this. So many do not exploit the great potential of the whole dynamic range, yet this is such an important stylistic device. Everything we play on the drums is made up of the rhythm, the pure pattern of the tones, i.e. the length of notes and rests, the tempo, how fast we play this rhythm, the orchestration, what we play it on, and the dynamics, how loud or soft we play something. So if you play everything at a constant volume, you don't take advantage of an entire quarter of the possibilities for musical expression on the drums. In the long run, that sounds boring and somewhat characterless. Not only that, the individual instruments have different intrinsic volumes. A cymbal or the snare sound much louder to our ears than a floor tom when hit with the same velocity. So if you strike all instruments equally strongly without gradation, you have an imbalance in dynamics. The high frequencies predominate, and that usually doesn't sound that good. In my opinion, dynamics are actually the most important component for expressive playing. If I take full advantage of it, I can tell a whole story just with 16th notes. But how can we practice this important basic skill? For this, we first have to divide the dynamics again. In my eyes, there are three aspects. First, the ability to play very softly and very loudly, and also to be able to control the gradations in between. Secondly, the ability to change the volume continuously, i.e. to become louder and quieter. And thirdly, the ability to play individual beats louder or softer, i.e. to play accents and ghost notes. If you've never practiced these three aspects explicitly, it's no wonder that your playing is still not very dynamic. I myself played drums for a few years and was totally surprised that I was not able to play clean 16th notes from soft to loud or vice versa. There are things that we don't learn in passing, but have to train specifically. The good news is, of course, that you can make great progress quickly if you focus for a few weeks on closing exactly that gap. For example, have you practiced the exercises that you get from your teacher or that are in your textbook in different volumes, very softly and also very loudly? No? Then of course it's no wonder that you lack control in the extremes. And with that, we are right in the middle of things. My first tip is play all the exercises you do at different volumes. Stay at one dynamic level for a few repetitions until it feels comfortable, and make sure that the volume stays exactly the same. First of all, it's about gaining control over everything from piano pianissimo to forte fortissimo. In the next step, you switch back and forth between different volume levels. doing this precisely without overshooting and fluctuating is harder than it sounds. This means that you may have to stick to one and the same exercise for much longer than before. That's just the way it is, because we're now practicing additional skills. However, this has the side effect that you internalize these exercises much more deeply and can control them better. What is the point of a technique that I can only play at one volume? Ah, yes, technique. Of course, the same applies here. If you learn certain techniques, such as molar technique, double strokes, or slide technique, you should of course practice them loud and soft as well. Many are particularly difficult to play softly because we often exploit the rebound with these techniques, and if we play quieter it is much weaker. But this trains our looseness and sensitivity all the more. The second aspect is the gradual change in volume, so that it sounds as smooth as possible. Especially from loud to quiet, it is very difficult to do this without sudden jumps. So just play single strokes up and down until it becomes more and more fluid. Maybe even first with each limb individually and then single strokes. You can use the tips of the sticks as a guide. Think of an imaginary line that you let move up and down evenly. Very important, go to the extremes. Play from as loud as you can to no longer audible. At first, just focus on linearity, an even increase and decrease of the volume. It takes as long as it takes. In the next step, we want to gain control over this ability even better in terms of time and thus make it musically applicable. To do this, we set a duration in which we play from soft to loud and back. First, 2 bars of 16th notes. And next, just 1 bar. That's harder. You may tend to start too slowly and then have to catch up. But with a little practice, this also works. And then only half a bar. That's only 8 notes. So now the strokes have to become louder and softer even in the change from left to right. So practice it slowly first, and again focus on the tips of the sticks. They should rise and fall in equal steps on the apex of the wind-up motion. So you can see that dynamic exercises can also be very challenging for the coordination. But since controlling the volume is so important musically, you'll gain incredibly valuable coordinative skills that you can and will really use. Next, do the same with a whole groove. All the limbs become louder and softer to the same extent. This too, first freely and then again over the duration of 2 bars. And then only 1 bar. And now it gets really tricky. Try all this with just 1 limb. You play a groove in mezzo forte, i.e. medium volume, and only the bass drum plays very quietly, then very loudly, and everything in between. Then practice the same with the hi-hat or the right cymbal, and then the snare. And then you change the volume gradually, but the other limbs remain exactly the same volume. This is much harder than it looks, but it gives you complete control over your dynamics and the ability to adapt your playing to any musical situation. Because as I keep emphasizing on this channel all the time, it's not about knowing as many cool licks or techniques as possible, but about being able to adapt what you play in as many ways as possible. To the music, to the location, to the fellow musicians. This ability will distinguish you from others and, if that is your goal, also increases your chances when auditioning for a band and even to get professional jobs. But back to the concrete exercises. Now we only need the third skill. Play accents and ghost notes, i.e. emphasize or reduce individual beats. To start with, I recommend the classic moving accents exercise. You play soft 16th notes hand to hand and emphasize every fourth beat. But every bar or every other bar, the accent moves one position further. Do it slowly at first to make the accents clean and clear. And then, of course, a little faster. You absolutely have to do this to a metronome because you also shift the beats rhythmically. This challenges your timing and thus improves it. Then you turn the whole thing around. You play loud single strokes and play every fourth beat as a ghost note. If we want to play faster accents or ghost notes, we need two techniques that are components of the molar technique. The control stroke and the upstroke. You can practice this very well if you go through the classic 40 Percussive Art Society rudiments, because there are many accents in there. And of course, practice them at different volumes as well. This is not easy at all, but it improves your control immensely. And of course, you then practice this new ability of accents and ghost notes in a groove. For example, by emphasizing individual hi-hat beats. Or on the snare drum by playing ghost notes before or after the backbeat. If you practice all these skills, your playing will become so much more multifaceted and expressive. Those were the most important principles and exercises to improve your dynamics. If you would like to learn all this very systematically, the Drum Quest books, which I co-wrote, are a guide for a real basic education on the drums. And so there is also a methodical approach on volume levels, changes and accents in this series, especially in stages 2 and 3. So if you're not at the very beginning, you can get those books or just start with the first and work yourself all the way through the series. But what if you want to play rather loud music? What good is the ability to play softly if you want to play rock and metal? There are some good reasons. On the one hand, dynamics are not just about playing quietly, but about mastering all volume levels and changes. This gives you more control, which ensures that you can play even louder for longer and without pain. In addition, Ghostnotes are a great stylistic device and often give a groove the right texture. To do this, we have to be able to switch quickly and play quietly in a very controlled manner. Thirdly, there are also quiet moments in rock and metal and the need for effects such as cymbal swells. So you have a larger repertoire of great stylistic devices. Fourthly, it can also be that you want to play different music at some point. And if you want to play drums semi-professionally or professionally, you have to master different styles anyway and sometimes be able to play very softly, for example, if you have to adapt to different locations. In addition, sound engineers can also work better with drummers in rock and metal who can control their dynamics, play in a balanced way and, for example, do not hit the cymbals too hard. This will make you many friends. And overall, these exercises will improve your stick control and technique in general. After all, you almost never play exercises from a textbook one-to-one in music, but they are there to gain general skills. These exercises are designed to support you on your path. Feel free to go through them systematically or see them as suggestions or nudges and incorporate these ideas into your practice plan. If you would like to have a systematic method for this, then I would recommend to get the Drum Quest books. If you practice all of this and consciously use volume, crescendo, decrescendo and accents, you will gain some of the most expressive elements for your playing. Those who are able to play quietly when required will be much more popular with their bandmates, sound engineers and also the audience. Because such a person behaves respectfully, puts the music first and not their ego. This can only benefit you if you want to get ahead as a drummer, be it as a hobby or professionally. When it comes to dynamics, the wheat is separated from the chaff. The same goes for another ability. There is one thing that holds many people back in their progress, and I would like to show you that in the next video. So subscribe now so you don't miss it. Once it's online, you'll find the link in the description. And if you want to go much deeper into the topics of creativity, musicality and effective learning on the instrument, then you should definitely join my Patreon page. For a small, regular donation, it starts at $2 per month, you will get much more bonus material such as exclusive videos, articles, background information and above all, once a year a full-day workshop exclusively for you. It is about exactly such topics and we have a whole lot of time to exchange ideas and talk about personal goals and problems. 130 people are already on board at this point. I hope you will join us and see you at the next workshop. Until then, I will see you on the next video. Take care and bye-bye.